Hello, you're watching Uzreport World News with me, Barnona Zarzoda. The beginning of the week saw a sharp increase in infection cases in Uzbekistan. Compared to Monday noon, the number in a single day has soared by 114. The largest share of those infected, or 31%, accounts for Tashkent city. Here is the statistics in the region. The number of confirmed cases in Uzbekistan has reached 504. As of 3 p.m. on Tuesday, 30 people recovered, 2 people have died. Kazakhstan still has the largest share of infections in Central Asia, with 670 cases, 6 deaths and 46 recoveries. Afghanistan has 423 cases, 11 cases ended with death, 18 patients have recovered. Kyrgyzstan has registered 228 cases so far, 4 patients have died and 33 have recovered. The situation in Tajikistan and Turkmenistan is still calm, as no cases of infection have been received by today. 3 citizens of Uzbekistan had died in hospitals in New York as a result of coronavirus infection. This was reported by the Consulate General of Uzbekistan in New York. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uzbekistan expressed its condolences to the relatives and friends of the deceased and urged Uzbek citizens abroad to strictly comply with the requirements of the local authorities to combat the spread of the virus, refrain from participating in public events, visiting crowded places, and take all precautions. The coronavirus pandemic highlights the importance of sustainable and resilient infrastructure, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank has said in its recent report. The organization intends to work on scaling up investment in critical sustainable infrastructure. According to the bank, the priority is given to public health infrastructure, which includes clean water and sanitation. On April 6, Deputy Prime Minister of Uzbekistan, Minister of Investments and Foreign Trade Sardor Umurzakov, via a video conference with the president of the bank, discussed the format of cooperation in the age of pandemic. On April 3, the bank had approved $385 million loan to help Uzbekistan improve the water supply system. Funds will be utilized as part of a 2-stage project being implemented in the Bukhara region. It is expected that some 1.2 million residents of the region will benefit from the project. Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on Monday instructed the government to borrow $650 million to finance a program that aims to increase the country's natural gas production. Part of the funds, in the amount of $250 million, is supposed to be borrowed through the Chinese Silk Road Fund and foreign banks, and another $400 million at the expense of export credit agencies, according to the decree signed by Mirziyoyev. All funds are set to be invested in further financing of the program to increase the production of hydrocarbons, which began in 2017 and will be completed in 2021. The total cost of the 5-year program is $3.9 billion. It includes drilling new wells and servicing existing ones, as well as building pipelines, pumping stations, and other infrastructure. Today, Uzbekistan produces about 60 billion cubic meters of gas per year, exporting some part of it to China and Russia. Uzbekistan is going to launch the production of ventilation and anesthetic breathing devices. This was reported by the press service of the Ministry of Innovative Development of the Republic.
The first batch of ventilators will be produced already in May. The first stage of localization of production provides for raising $3 million of investments and creating 30 jobs. The second stage involves investments of $5 to $6 million. A joint Slovak-Russian-Uzbek enterprise, Chirana Asia, has been established to manufacture and produce the latest devices. The manufactured products are planned to be exported to Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan and Afghanistan.
In the meantime, researchers at Johns Hopkins University are hoping to help resolve the ventilator shortage plaguing hospitals worldwide amid the coronavirus pandemic by developing 3D printed ventilator splitters. While some medical professionals are wary of patients sharing ventilators, the team in Baltimore, Maryland hopes their design will quell their concerns.
One fear is that patients could spread germs and pave the way for cross-contamination. Another is that patients may not get the oxygen they need, since individual needs vary according to their body type or lung condition.
For the patient with this COVID-19 virus, we need to utilize this ventilator that can provide air to the patient. But the problem is, currently we have a limited supply of the ventilators. So then, to tackle this issue, one of the solutions is we can share this ventilator for multiple patients. So that's the kind of overall goal of our project. But then during this process, it's important to have a kind of a customize airflow for each patient without any potential cross-contamination between the patient. So that's why we try to figure out how we can control and monitor flow to each patient while avoiding this contamination issue. So that's the overall goal of our project.
To achieve this, the 3D printed ventilator splitter has been designed to include an airflow controller and flow meters, as well as filters to prevent cross-contamination. Kang said the team, comprised of both engineers and clinical experts, is focused on getting the technology to as many hospitals as possible, as quickly as possible. The team has developed a prototype that they plan to begin testing on model lungs in the coming weeks. They will then seek approval from the FDA before publishing their open-source design for others to adopt, according to Johns Hopkins University.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is still in intensive care, but his team is working together to fight the coronavirus outbreak, Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove said on Tuesday. Johnson's illness has left his Foreign Minister Dominic Raab to lead the government's response to the accelerating outbreak. Johnson's personal battle with the virus has shaken the British government just as the United Kingdom enters what scientists say is likely to be one of the most deadly weeks of the pandemic, which has already killed 70,000 people worldwide. A 55-year-old Johnson was admitted to St. Thomas Hospital across the River Thames from the House of Commons late on Sunday after suffering persistent coronavirus symptoms, including a high temperature and a cough, for more than 10 days. His condition rapidly deteriorated over the next 24 hours, and he was moved to an intensive care unit where the most serious cases are treated. Although he had received oxygen, his office said he was still conscious.
A stunning rally on Wall Street to start the week amid signs the coronavirus outbreak could be plateauing in some hotspots, with new deaths and cases in New York, Spain, and Italy, giving investors hope the virus is peaking. Even with hopes rising, U.S. officials have braced the country for a painful week. Still, optimism prevailed, sparking a 1,600-point surge in the Dow, a gain of nearly 8%. The S&P 500 rose 7%, and the Nasdaq was up even more. But a rally of such magnitude, the biggest in roughly 2 weeks, is premature, says Greg Powell. He's CEO of Five Plan Partners.
It's great to see the market react so positively to positive news. At the same time, though, we still have a lot to go through over the next 2 weeks. And it's not just the hot spots, but throughout the country. And so, on these strong rallies like this may be a time if people are selling on the upside and buying on the dips, they may want to think about that, especially with such a short week.
Shares of Carnival surged Monday after Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund revealed it has taken an 8.2% stake in the world's biggest cruise ship operator. The stake, which was worth about $476 million at the highs of the day, instantly made the Saudi investment vehicle Carnival's second largest investor, according to Refinitiv Icon data. Carnival has had to raise cash and cut costs in an effort to ride out this turmoil. The stock rallied 20%. Another stock on the move, Wayfair. The online home furnishing company surged 40%. Despite all the doom and gloom out there, the company said it expects to meet or beat its first quarter sales forecast. Why? It says business is booming as customers flock online to shop, with many physical outlets closed. Oil was largely left out of the buying. A meeting scheduled for Monday for OPEC+, which includes fighting producers Saudi Arabia and Russia, was postponed until Thursday. The delay sparking concern that the two sides are not close to securing a global agreement to cut production and stop a crash in prices. Crude oil finished lower in U.S. trade.
Global food security concerns are mounting, with some nations contemplating restricting the flow of staples, as around a fifth of the world's population goes under lockdown. But protectionism could cause devastating ripple effects. The heads of the World Trade Organization and UN food agencies delivered a stark warning. Food supply chains must be protected from new trade measures. In a joint statement, they said, "Uncertainty about food availability can spark a wave of export restrictions, creating a shortage on the global market." Vietnam, for example, is the third largest rice exporter. It's already restricted sales amid concerns over domestic availability. India, the top global rice exporter, has just entered a 3-week lockdown, bringing several logistics channels to a halt. Such measures are particularly damaging to food deficit countries, like the United Arab Emirates, which imports 80 to 90% of its food. Nations such as Egypt, Iraq and Saudi Arabia are boosting imports as they build strategic stocks. Aid agencies' food procurement too could be hampered, cutting off supplies for those in desperate need.
Solid chip sales have helped cushion the blow to smartphones and TVs at Samsung. The company said on Tuesday its first quarter operating profit likely managed to rise from a slump a year earlier. The global leader in semiconductors is benefiting from higher demand for chips from laptop makers and data centres, as global lockdowns have led to a shift to working from home. Samsung said operating profit was expected to be $5.2 billion in the quarter to the end of March, and revenue likely rose 5%. Samsung shares traded 2.3% higher, while the broader market was up 1.9%. The maker of phones, TVs and memory chips is the first global tech company to report its quarterly earnings estimates. Samsung said last month the virus would hurt sales of smartphones, which accounted for about 47% of its revenue last year. When the outbreak started in China last year, its strategy of spreading its production base to countries including Vietnam and India seemed to pay off, as supply disruptions in China hit rivals such as Apple. But it's now a major global issue, and Samsung too has had to close factories and retail stores in Europe, India and the US.
And this was our last report. Please stay safe and goodbye.